Well, Cadet Campbell, let's start with you right away. As a firstee and senior season, you've had the opportunity at your time at the academy to experience this several years. What goes into being a firstee, the responsibilities associated of leading your class and leading so many of your fellow cadets and bringing you into this weekend and these festivities?
Well, really being a firstee it's an incredible honor. Having spent 4 years at the academy, you get to learn so much. You're around so many incredible like-minded people. And the development you see across 4 years is really special. So when we go into a big week like this, it's really about the underclassmen. This is my 4th year. It's amazing every year. I've loved it every year. But it's about making this a special experience for the underclassmen. For the plebes, this is their first opportunity to really go out there and see an Army-Navy game, see what it's all about, and to really interact with different service academies, interact with the general public. And so being able to step up and really make this a memorable experience for the underclassmen. I think that's what makes this weekend so special, being a firstee.
Now, as part of this, whether it's a firstee or it's a cow, is this like a political race here? Are we're lobbying for votes? We're lobbying and we're creating. Got promises here, promises there, many hands to fill. How does this work?
No, sir, we're all on the same team.
Okay,
so.
all right, just checking.
We are apolitical. Let's make sure we're
very much so. Very much so. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this week has to be just amazing. Obviously, Army-Navy week is always awesome, a special time. But this year, 11-1, first conference championship, multiple other awards, 22 in the country. What has it been like? I mean, you've been here 4 years. This is the best team in many, many years. What has that been like?
Well, I'll tell you, the buzz around West Point is the Army football team right now. The Corps could not be more excited for this game. The Army offense is absolutely dominant. The Army offensive line is even more dominant. I think Army wins in the trenches this week, but it's really been an incredible buzz around the school this year.
What has it been like for you?
Yes, sir. We're extremely fortunate to have such a great team this year. I think that the Corps, we're extremely fortunate to be able to have actually watched most of the wins at home this year. Just being in the Corps at those home football games, the camaraderie is really awesome. The team pumps each other up. The Corps pumps the team up. And it's a great atmosphere. And throughout this week, we've had a lot of other spirit events. And the Corps has been able to just get super excited about this game and be ready for an Army win tomorrow.
Fantastic. I have to pretend to be neutral, but I'm go Army beat Navy.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I didn't question that at all.
Love it.
All right.
The Army stacking W's. Now, Superintendent, sir, during your time leading West Point, it certainly doesn't get old for you. At one point, you were not superintendent at West Point, and I'm just curious in some ways what ultimately attracted you to this post, the opportunity to help work and develop young cadets that are going to go out and make serious commitments and lifelong careers and the pathways that they'll find their way forward post West Point. What attracted you to this post?
Well, I would tell you that, it's the Army process that we go through for our management of officers and non-commissioned officers. I had been the Commandant of Cadets in 2017 to 2019, so I'd been at West Point for a couple years and realized, as we think about every year we graduate approximately 1,000, West Point graduates into our Army who are going to be leaders for our Army, but leaders for our nation. And the opportunity to think about, they are running our Army in 25 to 30 years. All right, the opportunity to potentially have an impact in some way, shape, or form, hopefully a positive impact, to say, hey, you know what, we can influence, impact, and help shape these young men and women who are going to be leading our nation in the next, 5 to 7 decades. And that's important for America. It's important for all of us as citizens of the United States. And I think that was probably the best thing.
I love the way both of you cadets were talking about, again, you've had experience with this week and with this game, and so the ability to look down at the freshmen and the plebes, and at some point they're going to be in your spot with that same passion, and they're also going to be 3 or 4 years older. In your spot, sir, the ability to see what a plebe looks like to eventually become a firstie. How's that journey? That's got to be really cool to see that play out and come to fruition.
It is. I mean, and certainly when I look at it, part of it is through the lens of a parent. All right, which is pretty neat as you look at the maturation of young men and women that are going to go out and we give them responsibility. They're responsible for other people's lives.
Yeah,
that's a hefty responsibility. And believe me, I have absolute trust in what these young men and women can do now and will be able to do for our nation. And the other part of it is it's just awesome to be on a really, really good team. You know, being on a good, doesn't that make you feel good?
Feels great.
All right, and that's what it's about. It's about being a good teammate with each other.
So in the process, obviously, when someone enlists in the military, just traditionally, they generally pick their MOS. For you all, it's very different. So could you explain a little bit how that process goes, how you ended up infantry, obviously, where my heart is. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. So the United States Military Academy uses a system where we conduct a branching profile over the course of 4 years. Essentially, everything you do at West Point goes into a file, and that is how you advertise yourself to the branches. In your 4th year, you'll conduct a series of interviews. You'll interview for each branch that you're interested in, and then they will return a rating. So over the 4 years, you'll list all the branches, and you'll put down which is your first choice, second, third, etc. And then after you conduct your interviews, they'll send you back a 1, 2, or 3, either least preferred, preferred, or most preferred. Now, what you're looking for is obviously for you to, whatever branches you rank as your top 5, you're looking to get most preferred right back. And if you do, you've got a pretty good chance of pulling that card out of the envelope. So once you're done with that, it gets locked in, and then in December we have a pretty cool opportunity. It's called Branch Night, something we just completed. And all the firsties in the first class will gather in Ike Hall, and we'll be with our company mates. It's a really special opportunity. Your TACs will hand out envelopes, and you're standing there with your class. The nerves, the energy in the room's almost palpable, and you slowly open up that envelope, and you get to find out what the future holds and where you're going for the next 5 years. And regardless of what you pull, it's a special night because everybody knows that at the end of the day, you're going to get to go serve your nation. And that's something that's pretty special, and I think all the firsties hold really near and dear to their heart is they're going to leave the academy and they're going to get to go lead soldiers. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for, and that's what gets us excited.
It's my favorite thing because the Army-Navy game itself is fantastic. It's a game. Football is the best, in my opinion. But really, it's a chance to showcase you all and show people the quality of the men and women that are the future of our armed forces. And seeing you all, and at 43 and long removed from being in the military, it always is such, it's so reassuring because it's easy to sit there and go, back in my day, we were this. The more time I spend around our current military members, the more faith I have in. And I realize the military is better now than it's ever been, and it's going to continue being that way because of you guys. And so it's an honor being here with you all, and it just makes it such a more special event.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to say, Nordo, we talk about football. This guy right here, he was on the 2022 National Championship rugby team from West Point, all right, that won it down in Houston in May of 22. All right, so football is awesome. Believe me, I'm with you.
Yes,
but we got some other things that are performing. Other teams are performing at an incredibly high level.
And a lot this week, right?
Oh, absolutely.
This week,
yes,
how many events has there been? There was the hockey game. There's
boxing, right?
Boxing
tonight. That's right. There's boxing. Last week, both our men's and women's swim and dive team. All right. First time in 36 years that they swept the Naval Academy in swim and dive.
Man, Army's on a good run right now.
We are.
Annapolis just, scrambling right now.
That's right. We've got to keep the momentum going.
Yes.
Back to you, cadets. What drew you to the academy? You're able to speak so fluently and beautifully about what you've now experienced, but what ultimately drew you there in the first place?
Yes, sir. So I always just wanted to have the opportunity to serve my nation, serve the country. And also at West Point, we obviously get a really awesome education and come out as a commissioned officer. So that was the reason why I came to West Point. But a lot of people say this too, but a lot of times why you come to West Point isn't why you stay at West Point. I've talked a lot with the task force that comes over the summer and trains us, and a lot of people who are in the actual Army outside of West Point, and hearing their experiences and hearing some like not so great leadership that they've had just gives you the opportunity to advance yourself and take the 4 years to like become a better person and a better character and a better leader, so that you can be that person for those soldiers in your future career.
That's fantastic. And
Yes,
you
sir.
were talking about branch night at some point, because as an outsider, I'm thinking a traditional college. And there's got to be like a popular major of some sort. Or if you're just trying to skim your way through, you're a marketing major of some sort. But that's not the case necessarily at West Point. Did you have visions prior to branch night, prior to understanding the process, where there was a particular path? Once I got here, I got the acceptance letter. Was there a path that you were thinking, and maybe that now mentally has probably changed or been altered in some capacity over 4 years?
I think, fortunately enough, my path hasn't changed very much. I entered West Point saying I'm going to go infantry, and this past December, I got it. So I've been absolutely fired up.
That's a good guy to have at West Point, by the way. He had a goal, and 4 years later, he's hammering down on it.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, I think that's what's great is West Point provides so much breadth of experience and opportunity where you can have all these different experiences and really figure out what you want to do. Fortunately, I knew what I wanted to do, and West Point really reaffirmed that through all these cool opportunities. But, I mean, infantry was it from day one for me, so I couldn't be more excited.
So how soon do you know what unit you're going to be in? Do you have an idea now, or is that after graduation they say, here's where you're going?
So we'll pick in February. So it's based on our class rank. So within the infantry branch now, they'll list us by our class rank. And then, again, we'll get into an auditorium. We'll get to sit with our classmates, and they'll line us up in order, and we'll get to go up there and pull it off the board and pick. So it's another awesome experience just to be with your classmates and to figure out where everybody's going. But we'll find out in February, so I'm very excited.
So that's in February. Of course, we're thinking about the game tomorrow. But I must ask, kind of looking in a global viewpoint, how, from your standpoint, sir, the vibe of the academy, and as you hear me struggling to kind of get through this question, I'm trying to figure out the right way to word it. When a country is in active combat, there's a specific engagement that's taking place, and we can pick about maybe let's just use Afghanistan, right? Yeah. And that's a 20-year-long thing that occurs. There's the recruitment angle of it on a larger scale, but specifically with the academy. Is there a difference of how things happen, or how branch nights, or how you're picking units in these things as you are working at the same time? I want to educate these people, but we're also trying to supply the effort versus maybe in a situation now where we are not as actively engaged in a situation like Afghanistan. So now we're still doing these aspects of it, the pathways and growing these cadets into ultimately service and commissioned officers. Does that change anything based on what's happening, pumping out of D.C., where we're at on a global scale?
Well, the world is really volatile. Just look around. Look at the headlines, let alone dig down beneath the headlines. We expose our cadets to everything around the world. And we also expect them, though, to, they got to pay attention as they're going to go out into our Army, and potentially they're going to one of these places. Yeah. And I've learned, all right, when I was a cadet, it was in the late 1980s, the Berlin Wall fell, and everybody thought peace was breaking out around the world. And it didn't take too long to realize that, guess what, that's not the case. And if you stick around the Army long enough, you're going to find out that you're going to go somewhere that maybe you didn't want to, but you're going to go do it because the nation asked you to. And I think that's one of the what's awesome about it is that, hey, regardless of the world environment, all right, hey, it's about leading our nation's treasure, which are young men and women who have raised their right hand and swore to defend the Constitution of the United States. And they recognize that. I talked about the hefty weight of responsibility that they have. That's first and foremost why, being on the team, we owe it to them, we owe it to you, we owe it to our soldiers to put the best leader possible in front of them.
100%. Yeah, it's an interesting time because obviously switching from a counterinsurgency now back to a more conventional type of warfare. And I'm sure the doctrine, even in your 4 years, has probably changed, has it not?
That's obviously exactly what I meant to say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it has, but the basics of leadership is what we immerse them in. And with regards to whether it's large-scale ground combat operations, it's counterinsurgency, guerrilla, or unconventional warfare, the fact is it all boils down to the basics. And they get the opportunity to get so many reps and sets in the basics of leadership. And it's a process that starts, first being a follower as a freshman or a plebe, and then being responsible for one other person, and then the next year responsible for more people and so forth. And now, we're talking about people that are responsible for, hundreds and thousands of other people.
That's incredible, and I really appreciate you laying that out for me. And thank you so much for your time. It's such an honor not only to meet from a leadership perspective, but as people that cover the game, and again, as an outsider, the chance just to meet such impressive young people like you. And we really appreciate, and this can always seem fleeting, I'm sure it might, but we just appreciate the commitment that you have made and allowing us to kind of get an idea of that and a hint of that today. Thank you so much, Cadets.
Well, thank you,
That's
gentlemen.
right.
Thank you.
Really
And
appreciate it.
Superintendent, tremendous as always.
It's our honor to be here. Absolutely. We appreciate it.
And I'll let you just end it with a little
All right.
Go
Army.
Beat Navy.
Navy.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thanks again, you all.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Nordo.
Hey, cheers.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much.